Welcome to Talkin Tires, the podcast that delves deep into the world of tires. Join us as we explore everything from the science behind the manufacturing to the latest innovations in tire recycling. Our aim is to provide you with a comprehensive understanding of tires, including how they work, how to maintain them, and how to dispose of them responsibly. Whether you're a seasoned mechanic, curious car enthusiast, or an avid recycler, Talkin Tires is the perfect podcast for anyone who wants to learn about the essential component of the modern vehicle and heavy equipment. So buckle up and join us for an informative and engaging journey into the world of tires.
All right, welcome to another episode of Talkin Tires. I'm your host, Craig Hunter, president of Tire Reclaim, and I'm here today with three very fine gentlemen I've had the honor of meeting. And we're going to start from right to left is Andre Salazar, the CMO of Eco Green Equipment here in Salt Lake City. And next I've got Brad Swinson, CMO and CEO. Correct. Also co-founders and all three of you founders. And I'm here with John Porter, COO and also a founder. Yep. Welcome, guys. I say welcome to your own facility. So these guys were gracious enough to show us around, show us some really great equipment, things we're really excited about, learning more about. But today is not about that. Today is about tires, talking tires. And as you know, we like to learn as much as we can about tires all the way from the inception and the manufacturing all the way to the end of life, which end of life is what we're going to be talking about here today. So who would like to start? I really got to learn where this started and how we got going. Who's up?
Hey, well, first off, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to have you down here. So I just shoot.
Okay.
Go right, dive into it.
All right, Brad, why don't you tell me what led you into the tire industry?
Okay, that's kind of a long story.
I love it. We've got time.
Yeah, so going back about 19 years, John and I had a business importing stuff from China. We were in patio furniture, hospitality business. And both John and Andres, who are founders, were partners. We've been in this thing in the trenches from the beginning. They had a previous experience working for a guy that was a really dishonest guy, dealing with recycling equipment.
Do we want to call this guy out?
No, we're not going
to. No. I know the name. I know a couple of his aliases. Like, I'm ready. I'm willing to do it right now.
We're good.
We're not going to do it. You passed this time. Go ahead.
No, we give him a pass today.
Yeah. A lot of folks know this gentleman and his name.
So when they hear the story, people who know him will know him.
Fantastic.
But we're not in the business doing that. But anyways, they had worked with this guy at totally different times of life. And when I first met John, we were kind of talking about some of the stuff we were doing. And one of the things he showed me he'd done was shredders. It was plastic shredders, single shaft shredders. I'm like, John, we got to get into this business. He's like, no way. I spent 5 years of my life. I don't want anything to do with that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Bad experience. I get it. And didn't think too much of it. We were down at a show in Vegas, and John had met Andres previously in a cab in China years before, and they connected somehow, and we were both down at a trade show in Vegas. Andres was at ISRI. Yep. We were at some patio furniture convention or it was a hospitality convention. Yeah. And they connected, and Andres said, well, why don't you come over and say hi? I'm just at the booth in ISRI. And we went in, and that was the first time the three of us all met together. And
so separate conferences, right?
Separate conferences.
Just happened to be in the same area, but of course it's in Vegas.
Yeah,
right?
It's in Vegas. Yeah.
They're all in Vegas, it seems like.
So,
but no, fate is fate, right?
Yeah, right. Totally. Right. And this story is a story.
A cab in China, right? And yeah,
it's really a true story of fate. It's like, what are the chances that a Colombian guy meets two Mormons in Vegas?
It sounds like the start of a good joke. Yeah. A Colombian and two Mormons go to Vegas.
Totally.
We start a tire recycling shredder company. It's just out of the movie, right?
Right.
Totally. So anyways, Andres at that time is at the show working for the guy John had previously worked for. Andres was doing sales. Anyways, got to know him. I spoke a little bit of Spanish, but not very well at the time, and was trying to communicate with Andres in Spanish. And anyways, we all kind of just connected. So left that trade show, and nothing really came of it. But 6 months later, we get a call from Andres. John gets a call. I remember I was with him. And Andre says, hey, I need your guys' help. I got a problem. He's like, I sold a piece of equipment to a customer of mine in Colombia, and the guy I'm working with took the deposit, and he didn't order the stuff for the equipment. He stole the money, and I got to figure something out. And John and I are kind of like, man, that's a bad deal. What are we going to do, And he's like, no, I know where he was buying the equipment from in China. If you guys could just help me out and facilitate it and get the order and deliver it to my customer, I'll figure out how to work out the monies. And Andre's a real stand-up guy at the time, showed a lot of character. And John and I don't even know why we really did it. We didn't even make a dime. I was just say, yeah, we'll help you out. That sounds good. And really, most of that was
we hear that a lot, guys, just helping guys out.
Yeah.
Which is what, really a lot of this podcast is really just getting people together and talking, honestly.
Hey, it takes a team to get stuff done, and you don't always have the resources. So anyways, we helped Andres out, and the best part of the story though is when we're talking, we're like, man, I don't know what to do. He says, no, guys, you don't understand. I sold a piece of equipment in Colombia. They're gonna kill me.
Did I tell you it was Colombia?
They're gonna kill me.
Maybe I left that part out when we were talking. Colombian guys gave me money. Yeah.
So we were like, we really better help this.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. So it's a matter of life and death.
Yeah.
Okay.
Life and death. So
the ultimate motivator.
Totally.
Yeah.
So anyways, helped him get the equipment, get it delivered to his customer in Colombia, and kept in touch with Andres through this whole time, helping his customer out when they had challenges. And after we delivered that, it was kind of like, man, we kind of know the manufacturing side of that world. Andres is involved in the sales. Maybe we should put together a company. Andres says, yeah, I've got customers that we could go pitch to. And basically we went and met with our first customer, told them what we were doing, told them how we were building the equipment, the whole process, and they ordered. And we're like, wow, they ordered. What are we going to do?
Now we got to actually, now we're in trouble, right?
What do we do? Okay.
So give me a time frame. So what
this
year?
This is in 2009.
Okay.
That happened. So
awesome.
We then incorporated the company in 2010.
Okay.
So anyways, they placed the order, and that was our first order ever. And that company's actually.
And
still...
you were right here in this building? Or
No. We were in an office.
We were in an office.
We were in a teeny little office, and we were just doing our thing, really.
Well, we got to make a big note of how that was sold, though, right? Like, Andres is an incredible salesman.
Take it over, John.
And
he's like, yes, please tell the story.
It's a great story.
Please tell the story, not about me. How it happened.
It was because this was before we had engineering or anything like that. It was at conception of hey, listen, we're going to look at doing this, right?
Yes.
And Andres, sat with this group in Miami and basically said, well, on a napkin, grabbed a napkin from the restaurant they were at. Drew an in-feed conveyor, and here's the shredder, and here's the discharge. Anyway, laid it all out, literally off a napkin. We got our first order. I think it was about $1.1 million that we got. So, anyway, so pretty impressive story. And then we're like, okay, well,
if
this guy could sell off a napkin, I think we could probably make a business out of it.
Yeah, well, I've heard the story. I've never really Googled it to see if it's true, but I've heard the Southwest Airlines is a similar story, right? That said, because they have the oil billionaires that were flying from, I think, El Paso to Dallas to Houston. And a guy pulls out a napkin and he draws, if we just fly from this city to this city to this city, and that's Southwest Airlines.
That's incredible.
So you hear these napkin stories, right? Like that one, that's a great napkin story. So that's where we're at then. So now you got this.
So now we're in business, and that's when the hard learning really started.
Yeah. So the manufacturers, they're helping you get the equipment that you need.
Yep.
You're now trying to find the places that are needing or demanding tire recycling equipment, right?
So at that time, when we first started, we were manufacturing everything in China. That was our original business model. And we were doing American engineering, implementing it in China, and it was a total failure for us. It was a really painful lesson. It was the first real test of our partnership. You know,
Tell me more about that.
We got it.
What was the failure of it? Or
The equipment didn't hold up to tires. You know, everybody knows if you know tire recycling, it's the hardest thing to recycle. You know, you do plastics, you do all these other products. Tires are just hard. They're rubber, so you have to cut. They're steel, but since you have to cut the rubber, you now got to cut through the steel versus maybe beat it up a different way that's not so costly in your wear cost. You know that. You're in this world.
Well, and there's the concept of engineering of like putting the plant together, and then there's actual concepts of like you're engineering and speccing out the specific material, right? And so if you don't have that expertise, and we didn't have that, we had a good mechanical engineer that was able to lay it out, and all the transition points worked really well, but did not have the right material to shred. So our blades were horrible; they were wearing out fast. The customer experience was horrible, right? So
which just shows the infancy, right, of the industry and the thing, which I think you guys have been able to take advantage of, or at least adapt to really well. That there's not a lot of people that know the answers to these questions.
Right.
No.
So we've got to go learn them ourselves,
Absolutely.
or teach ourselves how to do this.
And something very important about that, sorry to interrupt you, is like many of the people that start selling tire shredders, they came from other industries. They were shredding scrap metal or wood or plastic and adapted their machines to do tires. We did it from scratch. It's like we need to shred a tire and design everything from scratch specifically for tires.
Well, and having just seen a plant, you can tell that just by the simplicity of this machine and the wear parts and the way. So I commend you on that, as far as, because we are running a very large and complicated machine, and being able to see something that's simplistic but very effective. I really liked your steel was very clean. That was a very nice setup that they had over there.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So anyways, that was a real hard time because, you got a customer super upset, rightfully so. And we really tried to be the stand-up guys. I mean, we lost so much money. Everything we made went back into it to help fix it. Then we were pulling money out of our pockets to fix it. And we were young. We didn't have money. I mean, Andres was 21 years old. We were early 20s, all of us. And it was like, man, we gotta close our doors, or we gotta totally re-gamble and risk. And that's when we sat down as a partnership and said, okay, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna take everything that we've learned here. We're gonna get some good mechanical engineers to help us with our design, and we're gonna design that equipment from the ground up, like Andres was just talking about. And that's where our designs that you see out in the market today have come from, was that time. And, that
necessity, the mother of invention.
That's
right.
exactly
Yeah.
right. Necessity. And so, the cool thing about these two partners, there's never a time, when we go through shit, we all come together and we figure out how to solve the problem and make it happen. And that's what's kept us alive.
So
for 15
what are
years.
some of the problems we're solving right now? I know you'd wanted to talk a little bit about OTR, Andres. Is there something that you want to talk about that's we're solving problems
So yeah, absolutely.
all over the world?
Right. So we saw a great opportunity on OTR tires. Actually started investigating about the problem 10 years ago.
So not all of our listeners and watchers are necessarily from the tire industry. So could you go into maybe a little bit of OTR and what that stands for?
Sure.
And the
So
differentiating.
OTR are off-the-road tires from the biggest tire in the world, an R63. That tire weighs around 10,000 pounds.
One tire.
That tire new costs between $60,000 to $80,000 new. And just to get a perspective, one of these large mines, they generate a lot of waste. They generate up to 10 tires per day. That's 40 tons.
10 of those tires?
10 of those tires per day. So we have already a customer that is processing between 10 to 12 of those tires daily. And then the reason we saw a problem, and then, okay, we have to come up with a solution. It's the solution in the past and still today was dig a hole and bury those tires. So great resources were getting buried, and then we need to do something about it. So I started flying into very big mines in South America and knocking in the doors is like, no, the easiest way is to dig a hole and bury those.
And they already dig holes for
Right?
a living.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So until it got to a point that legislation changed and we saw a great opportunity, like, okay, we really need to get into this. and they were not complete solutions on OTR tire recycling. So eventually legislation changed, and we sold our first plant in the biggest open pit coal in the mine, Drummond. It's actually a company from Alabama. And then they installed our plant at the mine. So we were actually the first company that took an R63 from 10,000 pounds all the way to rubber powder.
Oh, wow.
So nowadays
On one site.
on one side,
Mhm. One
right?
side.
So that is
That's
the customer that processes
remarkable.
between 10 to 12 tires a day. Now after that we sold a plant in Chile. They process around the same quantities. One in Texas, one in Canada, and then there's a great opportunity here still in the U.S. So we have the biggest copper mine in the U.S.
I've actually seen that mine. It's pretty
and
amazing.
it's
Yeah.
20 minutes from here, and they keep burying the tires. And so hopefully in the future that changes. There's a great opportunity. Many mines, Elko, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, where they're generating thousands and thousands of tons. Great resources getting buried. So this is the bit inside an R63. It's 300 pounds. Great steel.
300 kilos.
300 kilos, I'm sorry. And
600.
then really good buffing that sells between 20 to 40 cents a pound, that we take up to 1 ton, 2,000 pounds of material out of one tire. So hopefully that changes, and then we can start seeing more OTR processing here in the States.
So I noticed you guys had some legislation for tire recycling come up this year. I was reading on that a little bit in Utah. So I'm assuming that burying whole tires was not in that legislation.
No.
Unfortunately.
Not
right?
yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, that's pretty interesting problem to solve, right?
So
And-
one of the things that we really pride ourselves in, our mission is to provide customer success through innovative recycling solutions. So everything we do is
Oh, you said that really fast. Say that
Yeah.
again.
Providing customer success with innovative recycling solutions. And that's what drives us in our decision making. So, how do we help customers success? They got a big problem here. They got these big mining tires that legislation passed. They now have to solve it. So there we go. Whether we go find technologies that we acquire and modify, or whether we develop it from the ground up, varies on what it is. But that's an example of how the OTR thing went. There was a problem, and Anders had found customers that we have legislation that requires us to solve this problem. And we need to find a way to be successful doing it. We don't want to just cut it up and bury it anymore because it's a problem for us. We get penalized. And that's really how we as a group drive ourselves of how can we develop things that help our customers to be more successful every day.
So is that, would you say, kind of falls in your why category? I mean, we all have our whys, our families
Yep.
and our kids, and we want to,
Right.
better their futures. But tell me a little bit more about the why. Or maybe John, I'm sure you got to swing your feet out of bed every morning and
Absolutely,
come down here
yeah.
just like everybody else. So
Absolutely.
what's some
Well,
of that driving factor for you?
I would say the greatest, some of the biggest. Number one is providing these solutions. Number one, and number two is actually like when we actually go visit these customers, and I mean I've had customers say, "Hey, thank you so much because you've affected my life and my family's life generationally, right? By providing this. Again, we're a small part of this, right? We don't take any credit for that, but we're a small part of that journey where we can go in and we actually provided a solution and they have a viable, very profitable business that they're looking at passing that on to their, to their kids and their kids, right? So that to me is a big why, right? To be able to go and actually meet with these people face to face and travel all over the world, whether that's in Colombia, Chile, Saudi Arabia, wherever it's at, is to be able to see these people and see how our technology and what we're doing is changing their lives and changing the
I
environment.
think about
right?
it as the
So,
kids sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I'll go back and it usually happens around Christmas time, and I'll see all our guys out there just busting their butts, and then maybe they come into their break room and he hands out a little, Christmas gift or something. And I think about the little kids, right? Gets a new pair of shoes and gets a new basketball and gets this. That impact is real. Like these people's lives are being changed based on our work out here, right? To grow and advance these systems and products that create jobs. Which I'm sure you guys have created a lot of jobs in the Valley, and people are probably pretty appreciative of that. What do you think are some of your key important jobs? Like, what are some of your roles? Like, obviously, you're really dead set on this OTR project and getting...
That's one.
Right, yeah. Well, enlighten us. Enlighten us. Is there other things that you're working on right now that you'd like to talk about? I mean, this is your time.
Yeah, so something that I would like to add there is when we started this business, 90% of our customers were outside of the US. And developing countries where the markets were not developed at all. So what we did, and then part of our mission statement is when our customer is successful, we're successful. So we take it very personal on not just selling a piece of equipment that does size reduction and here you go, buddy, you're by your own. And it was so hard because we were the new kids in the block that we had to develop from back to front different types of products and understanding the market really well, and created a network of brokers. Where can you sell the rubber? Understanding the statistics about what's happening in the industry really well.
And nobody's showing you the way.
No.
Yeah, because everybody's so tight-lipped. Again,
exactly.
The podcast, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So I really want to tell that story because where can I find that information? How many tires the US generates? Where is it going? What new products are coming? So everything that you see here is 15 years. I'm 39 years old and I'm being in 72 countries. Traveling all over the world, finding this product they made in Czech Republic. This to bring it here and educate our customer. This is all the things and possibilities you can do as a business. So what I'm saying with that is not just the shredder, but how does the tire recycling business work? Where can you sell the steel? For how much? What products can you do, right? Where is the market going? And then getting all those statistics and then markets to provide that
it's more
to
of a
customers.
Holistic approach.
And then when our customer is successful, they're gonna expand, buy more equipment from us, more spare parts. If they're having a hard time not making money, we're not gonna sell a blade or a piece of equipment again. So we
Plus everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you make, you have one big one go down or one big failure, then everybody's going to talk about
So,
it.
so we're very passionate, and then not only about creating machines, but understanding how the business works, right? And then educating and providing that help on here's the opportunity that you guys have. You can choose if you want to go all the way into a molten product, or you just want to stay shredding tires and convert it in TDF.
So you probably have a lot of folks walk in and say, hey, I've got this widget, or I've got this idea, or hey, I can get all the tires I want. How do you handle a situation? Any of
you left out my personal favorite. Hey, I'll give you the tires if you'll put the plant.
We'll provide the land. You guys do the equipment. Yeah.
Right. You hear that a lot.
Oh man.
So how do you direct some of those leads, or how do you understand a viable potential tire shredder manufacturing customer versus a guy who's just maybe trying to screw you over, or maybe trying to get some kind of grant money going. You just don't know the folks that are out there.
Yeah, that's a great question, and the answer to that has evolved a lot. When we first started, we kind of became known because we attacked the internet before any other shredder company did. I mean, we put up after we sold that first plant, we put up a website and invested like the $10,000 that we had into SEO. And within 2 months, we had the top 3 spots on page 1 of Google for all of the tire recycling shredder terms. And so
I've seen it. You're always high up there, even to this day.
Yeah. So, it's gotten harder to stay up there because everybody started throwing money at it. But at that time, all of a sudden, we had the craziest calls coming in. Hey, I got 5 tires.
Right.
And you're like,
that's kind of what I'm
man,
getting
like,
at. Like,
yeah.
And
How
I
do
know
we
you
deal
have
with
a
this?
no soliciting sign
Yeah.
out front. You know? So I'm sure you have people just nonstop. Like,
That's
hey,
for all
I
the,
got
that's
an
for all the
idea.
shipping guys.
the linen guys, right?
And so it evolved. Like at first, and we were getting contacted so frequently by people like that. We got consumed talking to people that could never actually buy
weigh you down,
plans.
right? That's kind of
You
what I'm
know,
getting
because
at,
it takes, look, you know, anyone with a dream can figure out how to do it if they're willing to work for it. But there's some components that you got to have in place. Number one, you got to have a place to put it. You know, you got to figure out how you're going to finance it. You know, and then it's how do you get, you know, your contracts for your markets. And a lot of people get stuck between the chicken and the egg because it's hard to get contracts when people say, well, have you bought this stuff? Have you done this yet?
Can you send me a sample?
You know, because talkers are a dime a dozen, you know, and then there's the other people that, you know, that they take the risk. They go out and buy it. They figure out the contracts after it is. And so there's always that challenge with these customers. But one of the things Andres probably doesn't give himself enough credit for is when we went outside the U.S., we sold into countries that had 0 tire recycling happening in the country. You know, Colombia, the first tire recycling plant ever sold to Colombia was through us with Andres. And they didn't even have a collection program in place. People were trying to sell them the tires, you know? I mean, you know, here in the U.S., you're getting paid.
Oh, I still get those calls.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, hey, I got some tires. You want to buy them from me?
Yeah.
You
So
know?
do you pay for them or do I? That's like, yes, we pay for them. And congratulations,
Yeah.
you are now a wealthy man. All you got to do is go pick up tires and bring them here.
Exactly right.
But
And
I
so-
get it. You know, our name at Tire Reclaim, people put it together and Tire Reclaim, they figure we're paying for it. And honestly, I feel like if we drive the markets right, we will be paying for tires someday.
Well, that's
Right?
the
And
idea. Right?
Ultimately,
The value's gonna
we've
be-
talked about it before. Brett's seen it happen with appliances, right? In the metals industry. There was a
Right.
time not too long ago that they would pay, or wait, how's that go? No, the people would pay them to
take
just
it,
take
yeah.
the appliances.
Take away.
Now they have to pay.
Now they pay them, you know, and I saw the same. So my background coming from the compost recycling, which we talked a little bit about when I met you guys, is
Right.
we saw waste manure, the same thing. The
Yeah.
guys would say, hey, you know, where do you want the manure? I'll stack it for you, right? And we would take cow manure and windrow it, and we would make compost out of it. Then they see us and getting more equipment and making more money, and then they realize, hey, you know, maybe we'll charge you
there's
this much a
value.
ton for that
Yeah,
manure now. You know, and
absolutely.
then now it's evolved where there's literally contracts
Yeah.
between farmers and dairies
Right.
buying the waste, right?
Right.
So I could see the tire being the tin can
Right.
of the future,
For
right?
sure.
And it's going to take guys like you doing that 72 country run, getting new ideas, chasing them down, inviting guys like us to come out and talk and learn and communicate about what we're seeing as challenges, what you're seeing in challenges, and fielding those phone calls is a big challenge for me. That's why I'm asking you about it, right? That's the thing, is we have to be able to differentiate between the 5 tire guy and the 5,000 tire guy, and where do they, you know, work together? So
Oh, it's a never-ending challenge, right? You know, and you're always diving into that. But one of the challenges in markets is getting people to open up and talk. You know, we were almost forced to go international to get sales in some ways, because when we first started, this market was very closed. And I actually think it's getting better. People are starting to talk more, be a little more open. I don't know, maybe we offended people. We're the new kids on the block, and you know,
doesn't matter, right? I mean, who cares?
we
Right?
got all the
Just bust
confidence in the
door
world.
open. Yeah.
We think we're unstoppable, right?
yeah.
And you know, but opening that up to talk more like you guys are doing, I love what you guys are doing, because it opens it up. And it's amazing how when you open discussions up and talk, how many new ideas come to the table. And you know, there's other people in the industry that promote that and do it, and there's some that don't. You know, but I love what you guys are doing with this. It's incredible.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So, anything else you guys wanted to talk about on your fantastic Talkin' Tires podcast? I know there's been stories of how you got started and some pitfalls. Are there any big successes that you can brag about, or something that you're super excited about?
Oh yeah, huge. I mean, there's a lot of successes, but one I was just going to go into this and we got sidetracked. But one of the things Andres did, he was the first one to sell into Colombia any type of recycling equipment. Today, our equipment recycles 80% of the country's tires. You know, and we developed it. None of it's going to landfill. All of it that gets recycled is either going towards TDF, crumb,
I
markets.
should know that, right? Like that should
asphalt.
be in an article somewhere. Like I should have already seen that. Like congratulations on that.
It was a huge
80%
feat.
of tire recycling in the entire country is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
You know, congratulations on that. And that's a perfect example of like that should be common practice to talk about and be like, hey, here's what we were able to do. We can do that in other parts of even the states.
Right.
There's
Totally.
some seriously rural areas in Idaho and all over the entire country that need help. And that's why we're set up there. We feel like we've got our niche.
Right.
There's got to be other areas that, as well, that we can find these places to recycle tire rubber and not just go to the landfill.
And it was hard work because we needed to create a tire recycling program, talk to Michelin, Bridgestone, all the tire importers. How are we going to create a collection? Is it going to be a tipping fee? Then you got to go and then, Colombian legislation doesn't allow to burn tires. So then you don't have a TDF market. And it took us 6 years to start talking with the biggest cement plant in Colombia, Argos. And the first time I knocked in the door, probably I was like 22 years old. I didn't have a beer at that time. And what is this kid doing here? We are the biggest producers of coal in the world. We'll never burn a tire. We're never going to burn a tire. Today, they burn between 1,000 to 2,000 tons of TDF. And 80% of that TDF is produced with our equipment. And but it took a long time of working hard, changing the legislation, meetings, until Colombia was the pioneer on consuming alternative fuels. And then now you start seeing it in Chile, in Mexico, in Peru. Peru is just getting started. So it becomes a snowball effect that it took us 12 years to get there. But I think the market is changing in a very positive way because more markets are evolving. Chip seal, what they're doing here in the US, molten products. I see products made out of tires coming every day, a new product. So the more we work together and expose these products, it's going to create an idea for someone else. Hey, if someone is doing a noise barrier, I can do something else, a roof block for a solar panel. So the more products we create, the more consumption there's going to be, and it's going to get to a point that then it's going to become a commodity, and that's when you're going to start paying for those tires. Yeah. But we have to work together as a community to get there. If everybody's hiding, I'm not going to show what I'm doing and things like that, and
I agree.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah. So that guy that told you never at the cement plant, I think he did you a favor.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? And because there's nothing that motivates better than a chip on your shoulder, right? I'll show them, right? And looks like you guys have taken that to the next level. So I think that'll wrap it up for this episode of Talkin' Tires. And I really appreciate our guys for having us here. And this has been a great educational adventure. So thank you and have a good night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.